No idea what happened there. As always, YouTube just being YouTube. It says the stream was going. The stream wasn't going. My apologies for the delay. What a one to be delayed on, right? The irony. Anyway, hello, welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is Simon Miller. Let's just give you some information in case you stumbled across this or you don't know. So back at the start of January last year, it would have been. Good grief, yes, that's like a year and a half pretty much. We started doing some mental health vlogs here on my channel. You can catch them up now. It's amazing that YouTube is still telling me there is no data. Yeah, let me just check the sound is all right and know what YouTube's like. Yeah, it's fine. We started doing some mental health vlogs. The irony being I was quite anxious about doing them because I didn't know how people were going to respond. Like, the internet's a very crazy place, as you know. Some things are welcome, some things are not. Some people will accuse you of being disingenuous. There's 1,000 things that people can say. But look, mental health is something that's always been very close to me. If you're a patron, not a cheap plug, just letting you know what the deal is. We're not going to talk about that here. That's not the point, unless I feel it's pertinent and it brings up. But I haven't done one of those vlogs in a while. And I started this Why with Simon Miller podcast around about 12 weeks ago. Still trying to find my feet with it. And don't know why, but this week especially, I was inundated with people asking me, oh, Miller, are you going to do any more of those mental health vlogs? Do you have any more plans? Amazingly, very humbling. They helped me a lot. So I was like, okay, I didn't have an idea for the podcast this week. I like to go live on YouTube. I like to chat to people. So I thought, hey, let's chat about it. Let's make it as easy and as obvious and as normal as it possibly can be. And that is the big, and again, I'm not saying I'm a medical professional. I've had no training. It's just one man's opinion. And you're allowed to say it's as important or as crap as you want. That's completely up to you. But the first step for me is we need to be able to talk about this as it's perfectly normal. Because it is perfectly normal. There's still a stigma around mental health in 2019, although it is a lot better. But there is still a stigma. Again, talking about it from my own perspective, I still see it. Like, I listen to a lot of talk radio. Don't know why. Just get a kick out of it. And if I'm listening to sport radio, you hear it. You hear it all the time. Somebody will be talking about, a football player, for example. I heard it this morning. A football player that hadn't won the Champions League last year or last season. And they said, I didn't win, so I went to cry, but I made sure there was no cameras around and I made sure there was nobody around. And that ties in because that's a stigma, right? That's a stigma of men can't show weakness, men can't cry, men can't have emotions, which is nuts because men do have emotion and men do cry, as do women, as do children, as do old people. That's why they exist within us. The reason we cry is because we are able to cry, as ridiculous as that sounds. Like, it's a mechanism within us when you get hit emotionally, when you're stung, when you're hurt, when you're upset, sometimes when you're happy, that makes water come out of your eyes. And that's it. And yet somehow throughout society and throughout civilization, we have decided, oh no, that means you can't control your emotions. But and again, the irony there being, the sheer contradiction there being, if you were strong enough to just cry and not worry about it, that's like the most incredible thing you can do. And I'm not saying I don't do it. I do it too. Like, if I go to a movie and I feel a tear in my head, my natural reaction is, well, you've got to try and hold those tears in. And you're like, why? What is going to happen? The worst that's going to happen is some idiot looks at you and goes, oh, that guy's crying. That guy is a dick. So why do we worry about his opinions? Someone's done it. You can do super chats if you want to talk or say anything. Obviously, it all does help, but I don't want to push that too much. I don't want to seem like this is some kind of attack for money. But shout out to non-WWE guy in the super chat who has said, I had to put my dog down recently. I needed this. Thanks. So you're very welcome, my friend. Again, I wanted to do this for everybody that had asked, and everybody said nice stuff. And that kind of ties, that's a thing as well. I know of people that have had to put their pets down who they're very close to, and a reaction they get from some people is just a dog. It's just a cat. I'm like, yeah, but you're missing the point. If you lose your favorite pen and get upset, that's okay. I mean, maybe someone could say you're being a little bit sensitive, but it depends what that pen means. Let's say that pen was given to you by a grandparent, by a parent, by a friend, by a brother or sister that you don't see anymore, and you find worth in that pen and you lose it and you get upset. There's reasons for feeling the way you do. And the other thing is, as well, is people that will jump down your throats because of that is only because they want, everybody wants to be able to be in touch with their emotions. Everybody wants to be able to figure this stuff out, right? I say it all the time. Nobody, 100% of the human beings on this planet, none of them wake up every day feeling good. It's not possible. And sometimes we're not even in control of that because the brain is such a crazy nuts thing that sometimes it is you don't feel like you feel like you're disconnected from it, and you feel like you're fighting with it. And there'll be many reasons for that, but one of the reasons is when you do get depressed, when you do get down, you get anxious, you get apprehensive, you tell yourself, given what the world has told you, that that's the wrong way to feel. You shouldn't feel like that. Like, we use terms like, oh, they're struggling. And I get it. I don't have a problem with that. I don't get fancy about stuff like that. But again, that word struggling has negative connotations to it. And straight away people think, oh no, I shouldn't be struggling. I should be fine. But you shouldn't be fine. You should be whatever it is that you be. Now, there is the other side of that if you are in a slump and maybe you're getting a bit melancholic with it or a bit dramatic, that's fine for a while, but eventually you've got to pull yourself out of that. So, there is a fine balance to be had. But really, the majority of people who do feel that way are... It's perfectly normal, even if there is no reason. Like, we've talked about this on a vlog before. Again, it's all on a playlist. You can go and find it. But we talked about it in a vlog before. I got mad anxiety in my second year of university, and I don't know why. To this day, I don't know why. And then it went again a couple of years later. I would presume it was just, moved away from home, looking at the, my future, not knowing what's right, not knowing what's wrong, probably being a bit scared, probably trying to adapt to this new life, and that's how your body responds, because it's a flight or fight thing, right? You're flooding your central nervous system with all these what ifs, and I'm scared and I'm worried. So your body thinks you're about to be tacked, so it gives you all this anxiety, so you get out of the way. That's why we have anxiety. If a car's coming at you, you jump. Because you think, well, that car's going to get me. If you didn't have it, it would run you down and you die. So your body is designed to try and survive, which is where all these things come from. But as society does get more complex and we deal with all these issues and we deal with all these problems, we try and actively move away from that. And we try and actively tell ourselves, well, what's the quickest way to recovery? And that is important. You do need to come up with a plan, but you also need to make sure that we do accept that you are allowed to feel down, you are allowed to feel depressed, you are allowed to feel anxious, all those words that we've gone through. It's absolutely normal. It's absolutely fine. And really, the irony almost being that when you do understand how to do that, or you do find a place when you can do that, you will start to get better. Because acceptance is a really powerful tool, and acceptance puts you in a place where you think, okay, well, I do feel like crap. I'm all right with that. What do I need to do to get back to a place where I want to be? And I think that's really important. I think that's really a really essential message to put out there. And there's so many different things that can trigger it as well. Like, it can be triggered by something at work, about a relationship. There are so many factors in life that actually you don't know what's going to affect you when you go out that door. Like, you can be in a really good mood and you get to work and someone goes, oh, that's not a very nice dress, so I don't really like that top. And really, it doesn't matter what that person thinks, but it gets inside your head, and that may trigger something else off that maybe somebody said 10, 15, 20 years ago, whatever, or it may play on your own worries. And then all of a sudden you feel yourself, you feel yourself dipping. And it's all about self-worth. And that's why people say that, we use relationships because that's the most stereotypical one, the most obvious one. But that's why people say that you shouldn't, don't get into a relationship until you know that you're comfortable in your own skin. And that's why, because then that other person, no matter how much trust or how much faith or how much worth you put in them, you've got your own self-worth. So if it doesn't work out, while you're going to be hurt and you're going to be upset because you've lost a connection with somebody, you know who you are and you know you have the confidence and, again, the ego to get through that. And that's why it's so important. But, trying to keep your self-worth topped up is next to impossible with all the little things that can go on, and tying it into professional wrestling, as I want to do. I've said that to loads of people. I think that's the real reason people become professional wrestlers, because sometimes your music hit, you go out there and you get such a good reaction and such a good ovation from the crowd, it fills your self-worth tank up, it gets you through the week, and then you do it again. And, is that a bad way to do it? No, whatever works. But it's certainly better to just have it there. And I'm not saying I've got all the answers. I'm not saying I have my self-worth tank is filled up 100% of the time. Of course it isn't. This week especially, certain things have gone down and certain people have said things on the internet that's made me really upset and it's really hurt. But I try and take stock. I always try and look internal when that stuff happens. And I always try and ask myself, why has this made me so upset? What is it that some stranger has said to me that is able to pierce pierce my skin or pierce my emotional state, whatever. How have they got in? Especially here on YouTube, that's a classic thing. You can have 99 people. Simon, I love this video. Simon, this was great. Simon, thank you so much. One person goes, Simon, oh shit. And you focus on that one because who knows why? We jump onto the negativity. And I guess there's a side of it, you want everyone to like you. But there's another side of it, you're like, well, why does that person think it's crap as opposed to, well, look at all these people that think it's good. And these are the things we have to circumnavigate every single day. Shout out to Undead FB Goo in the super chat. Always very supportive here. I really appreciated it. She just says, since I started watching your videos and you have helped me by an escape, a laugh, and a place to chat about things, I've had anxiety for 17 years. And shout out to 116 Gaming, who is a member of the channel. Can join down there with the join button. Says, hey, Simon, hope your day is going well so far. Yeah, it is. Thank you. I think most people do have anxiety. And I understand there's different levels of anxiety. I never want to say that somebody's anxiety is worse than anybody else's, because it's not really. You know, person A may have sort of super serious medical induced anxiety that needs drugs, and person B may have a little bit of anxiety, but it still affects their lives in different ways. So I don't like it. Sometimes you see videos of people talking about certain mental conditions, and but mine is really bad. It's like yours may be worse on the scale, but it's still bad for whoever's the lowest on the scale, because nobody wants to deal with it. So yeah, Undead FB, I would say to you, and again, I'm not a medical professional. I always get that in the comments. I understand that. This is just me ranting about my thoughts, and maybe I'm talking bollocks, maybe I'm talking some sense. Who knows? But I think most people do have anxiety. I really, really do, and it just depends on when it rears its head and how you deal with it. Because that's the other thing. Anxiety mostly is you projecting the future. Like, if you read any self-help book, they all say, are you able to singularly put yourself in a position and just live in the moment, right? And it's next to impossible. That's why people preach meditation, because if you can master that, you'll do it. So most of the anxiety come from projecting the future, like what will happen if this goes wrong, or what happens if that goes wrong, or what happens if this person breaks up with me, or what happens if I lose my job, or what happens if I run out of money, and so on and so forth. And then 9 times out of 10 it doesn't happen, and then the 10th time when it does happen, you figure out how to deal with it because we're humans, and you realize, well, I've got to deal with it. It's happened. And yet trying to accept that as logically it is really, really, really hard. And then you double it with the fact that when you do feel down, there is a contingent of people, a large contingent of people, that will deem you to be some kind of, I can't get the right word, but they don't get it, right? They don't get it. And look, that is why people get addicted to things. People get addicted to drink, drugs, gambling, whatever, because they're trying to fill a hole. They're trying to fix something. And that's something I experienced throughout my life. Again, one of the earliest vlogs we did is me telling you why I didn't drink alcohol. It's not really that interesting, but people seemed interested in it. And I noticed that anybody who really got seriously, some people were confused by it, but the people that went on and on and on about it and were like, I can't go out with you if you don't drink, they soon down the line realized I'm relying on alcohol too much. And that's where their insecurities came out, because they look at somebody else and they're like, well, that guy's not relying on drink at all. I don't want to have to deal with that, because it means looking internally and figuring out why I have to. And that's why addiction is a real serious thing. I see a lot of people kind of, crapping over addiction. Oh, well, just get over it. Just get over it. So it's not that simple. Like, if somebody has lost themselves in that world, it likely means they are struggling with something and they don't know how to deal with it, and they need somebody's help, which ties into something that you should always do when you are feeling that way. And if you do get to the point where you feel like you're banging a head against the wall, or you don't feel like you can reach out and talk to somebody, ring the Samaritans, or go and see your doctor, or see any kind of a counselor, or whatever you think is going to work. But for starters, it's never the end. It's never as bad as you think it is, and there is always somebody out there who can help you. It really, really, really is. And again, I'm not saying I'm that person, but that's kind of why I started making these videos, because it's like, well, if even I can do it on a small platform, and it convinces one person to do that, and they go do it, then surely it's worthwhile. And if 9 other people want to tell me I'm an asshole for doing these, that's okay too. Shout out to Mean Daddy Durfee, amazing name in the super chat. Hey Simon, just want to say I really appreciate you talking about this and making me feel like it's okay to share personal issues with other people. No problem, man. And it is okay. It doesn't mean it's easy. See, there's a difference there. It is it's good to share with other people, and it's important, but it's not easy, because you don't know how they're going to react. Like, again, I tie it into all the vlogs. This is supposed to be like some kind of summary, I guess, we did a vlog about why I wore a singlet when I first started wrestling. And the reason is I have body issues. And people are like, why do you have body issues? I don't know. I guess I'm worried about being judged. I'm worried about people having an idea of what I should look like in their head. I'm worried about people tweeting me or leaving comments going, Miller, you look fat. Miller, you look crap. All that working out. And I've never put myself on that pedestal. But again, I have put myself out there on the internet, and so everybody is allowed to react how they're allowed to react. So when I first started to debut in wrestling, I was like, well, that's already intimidating enough. Let's cover myself up. And that's something that we can deal with down the line. But it must tie into the reason I go to the gym. Again, I was bullied as a kid, another vlog that we've done, and something that really helped me out during that time when I was 16 was finding the gym and having a nutrition plan and seeing my body develop and grow. It was a real good distraction for me, and also it spoke to me as a person. It calmed me down, it gave me confidence, and it allowed me to apply that to my real life. So it all ties in. So maybe the body issues I have go back to a time, 15 whatever it is years ago, when I was being bullied and wasn't very happy in my childhood. Like, I remember people saying to me, the phrase, school is the best time of your life. I was like, this better not flipping be the best time of my life because I'm not having a good time. But it's difficult because I learned. I mean, I would never wish bullying on anybody, of course, but just from my own experiences, it helped develop me into the person I was. And again, tying into the alcohol stuff, it's why when I got to 18 years old, I got wasted on my 18th birthday and said, I'm never going to drink again. And I meant it. And the reason that I never went back to that, I think because I developed a real strength of character and real strength of self when I was getting bullied, didn't have many friends. So what I did was I went, okay, well, you've got to build yourself up then, man, both physically and mentally. And it kind of got to me the point probably earlier than most people would, neither bad nor good, positive, negative, just that's my life story. To where I was like, I don't want to drink. I don't want to do this anymore. So I just stopped. And I went to university and I never had a drink. And I got all this, craziness and looked at like I had two heads. But I never relented because I knew deep down I didn't want to. And I would tie that in again to getting very, just built. However I dealt with the bullying, I think it all ties in. Shout out to Tom Talks Rubbish in the super chat. He says, hi, have money. Love all you do talking about this. You're very welcome, man. I appreciate it. It's just, I think one day if we can all just talk about it like this and we can all share our little musings, as I call them, and whatever else, then it will just become the norm. And it is better. Social media has helped massively. And you can see people that you really care about talking about it. Like one that always sticks to my mind is Samoa Joe. Samoa Joe is always the wrestler, if you don't know. He's always tweeting about mental health and things like that. And I think it's great. Samoa Joe, this guy, and I understand it ties into characters, blah, but let's not worry about that today. That's for the wrestling podcast. But seeing somebody like Samoa Joe, who's this big, tough guy, come out and talk about it, I think gives people a little bit more confidence with it. Because you're like, well, if Samoa Joe's cool with talking about it, why can't I talk about it? Samoa Joe ain't going to take no crap from nobody. And the other part of all this conversation, I think this is something else that people deal with, and there is a slight, I can't think of the right word, controversy around, that's not right. Stigma, we've used stigma a lot. But, there's also mental health issues for people that are dealing with people that have mental health issues. Like if you have a family member or a friend that you're trying to help out, you almost feel guilty accepting that it's hard on you. But of course it's going to be hard on you. Like, especially if you have feelings towards that. But even if you don't have feelings, if you're just a carer, having to see someone go through anything. Like the scariest thing to me in the world is Alzheimer's or dementia or things like that. Because the person that has it, I just can't even imagine what that must be like. But also for their loved ones around them who have to see this deterioration and the loss of memory, because memory is like basically all we're made up of anyway. We're beings that we tradition, for example, tradition exists because we want to keep one foot stuck in the past, and then that will trigger mental health stuff. So there's almost like a circle of life thing, a chain that goes around, a thread that goes through everything, and it's real tough. And I think we should just be able to sit here and say it's real tough. Shout out to Lee Hartenfeld in the super chat, who amazingly just says, I suffer from anxiety and depression, and this stream will really help myself and others. Love yours and What Culture's content. Keep up the good work. Well, thank you, Lee. I appreciate that. That does mean a lot. Like I say, the only reason I talk about it is because I'm passionate about it. And I just see it every day. Not every day, but sometimes I just see people. It's like the internet. We'll tie into internet culture too, because it's so easy to tweet a celebrity these days, or it's so easy to get into a celebrity. We'll go back to footballers. Somebody misses a penalty, right? Tammy Abraham the other day for Chelsea, and this ties into racism too. but it's still, it's still going to have an effect on him mentally. He misses a penalty, people tweet him racism, which is just crazy to me. Like, it blows my brain that would even be a thing, but it is. And we shouldn't take racism out of it, but focusing on the mental side of it, I mean, how difficult is that to try and deal with? And what kind of world do we live in where somebody on the internet feels like it's okay to say and do whatever they want to someone just because they've made up some kind of narrative in their own head? Like, I can handle, like, if I say I like the Rusev match on Raw, SmackDown, he's not even around, but you know what I mean, and someone says, oh, Miller, you die. Miller, I hope you die. I'm like, I don't care, whatever. But if you get 10 of them in a day, by the 10th one, you're like, I got to come off the internet. And it's even worse when people are telling untruths about you, when they know 50% of the situation, but they go, well, I'll fill in the blanks and I'm going to tell everyone and pass it around. I don't, that's not helping anybody. And it also kind of goes to show that we do have a long way to go before we've sorted this stuff out. Because if you were genuinely mental health aware, I would like to think that even when you're treating other people, not knowing their situation, you go, well, I'm not going to do X, Y, or Z because I don't want to make them suffer. I don't want to make them anxious. I don't want to give them apprehension. Undead FB Goo in the super chat says, due to bullying, I developed sarcasm. Yeah, that's a big one. It's a big one too. You have a sense of humor about it. You poke holes at yourself. You kind of... you're sarcastic as a way to try and negate the bullying before it happens. And the most ridiculous thing with bullying is usually, and again, I'm not an expert, I'm going to say that a few times because I know people are joining in. These are just my thoughts. All they are, just thoughts. So you can tell me I'm an idiot, it's fine. But usually if someone's bullying you, it's because they're either trying to deal with their own stuff. Maybe they've been bullied and it thinks, it's a dog-eat-dog world. If I become the bully, nobody will bully me anymore. They don't have many friends, so I think I can be the intimidating one. So they're suffering as well. So nobody wins in that scenario. It's just it's a downward spiral for all. Ben Greenwood in the super chat says, I just want to let you know that you've helped so many people and we are grateful for your help and we all here for you when times are tough. Well, that's just lovely, Ben. Thank you very much, man. That's very sweet of you to throw in there. And it's very humbling because, again, it all ties in. The irony of wanting to start a series like this 18 months ago, but being worried, being anxious about it. Like, I'm aware how ridiculous that is. But, I mean, for some people, mental health has become a trend. It's become trendy. And look, I'm not necessarily massively upset about that because I still think it spreads the message. Whatever spreads the message and gets it out there, whatever helps people talk about it, if you want to use it to promote your career, all right, do it. At least you're still talking about it. And at least you're still... And if you make up a story, I was depressed when I was a kid. All right, well, that may help 10 people who like you as a person. So I don't think it's that bad. Dan Lemley in the super chat says, thanks for talking about this. I also have a music suggestion based on your video yesterday. Bazanji. He's a very good rapper in my opinion. Done. Bazanji goes on the list. Thank you, Dan. I mean, I'm not going to write it down now, but I will when I'm done. That sounds like I made it up. I'm going to put it on the list and nothing happened. I will put it on the list. But yeah, we need to get to a point where we can just be open and honest. And I think there's nothing worse. Like, I went through a hard time. Oh, when the hell was it? I can't remember. I can't remember what the reasons were. It was so long ago. But I remember having that awful feeling when you wake up and like, I don't want to get out of bed. I don't want to get out of bed today. And again, I dare anyone to tell me they haven't felt that way. I won't believe you. That's not true, I would. But you get my point. And it's amazing when you kind of look back now. You're like, why was I in that slump? Like, what the hell happened? What triggered in my brain to take me from kind of living day to day to, just not being able to not even wanting to get out of bed. And I don't think you're ever going to know for sure, but it could be a chemical imbalance, it could be a hormone imbalance, it could be one of 1,000 things. But knowing that you'd just be able to, and it ties into work as well, right? The hardest thing if you feel like that, you don't want to go to work, but you can't tell your boss that. You can't say, I'm not coming to work today because I feel depressed. And if you do that too much, you're at risk of losing your job. And I get that as well, because you have to balance that out too. Because if you do that all the time and somebody's paying you, you're not doing the job, that creates an issue at work. So there are ways and means we have to look at it. We're certainly not out the woods with it. But it just would be good if there was sort of systems in place. Like when my first ever job was at Sony. I was a junior copywriter, and I know what this was about the whole time. I'd just come out of university and I was mad anxious, but I knew what that was. At least I knew that I didn't know what to do. I went back to the job that I've been doing throughout university, which is I worked at the cinema in the summer holidays, and I kind of felt to myself, wow, I've just spent 3 years at uni and I've gone back to a cinema. Like, what am I doing? So, and then eventually I got a job at Sony, again, writing instruction manuals, but I was really intimidated working in this big office. I hadn't really gotten over the stuff I was just talking about. And amazingly, and this is years ago, Sony had something in place. They gave you a card on day one, and it was, you could ring it and they would sort out counselling for you if you were going through any problems. And I used it because I thought, why the hell not? Why shouldn't I go and talk to somebody and try and sort this stuff out? And I did, and it was a great help. It was a real help. I just, I said, like, I'm really scared. I don't know what to do with my life. Like, I've got this job, blah, 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 blah. Let's not get into specifics of that. But I thought that was amazing that Sony had that in place. And I don't know if people have that now. I would like to think that they do. But that is the kind of attitude that we should have. Like, companies assisting you and helping you out so that you can do your job and deal with your personal stuff in your spare time or whenever. It's just really, really important. And right now there aren't the funds. I mean, the government are doing better with it, or at least they're saying they're gonna do it. But we need to invest funds into it, and we need to. Yeah, we just need to accept that if somebody breaks their leg and you can see it, we go and fix the leg. But if somebody breaks their brain, which is a poor term, but if somebody breaks their brain, we figure it out in a different way, but with the same approach that we would to anything that was health related. That's how I see it. That's how I see it anyway. And again, that's why when you do, I think breakups are the big one. When you break up with somebody, which I imagine everybody watching this right now has, when you do break up with someone, most people go into what's called a reactive depression. And that's because you're used to ringing this person, you're used to texting this person, you're used to waking up and having a message from them, you're used to seeing them at the weekends, you're used to living with them, having dinner, whatever. And then all of a sudden it's like, you come and cut your arm off, and they're gone. And it is like grieving, right? Some people say, and this is something we can debate, some people say that actually breaking up is harder than dealing with death of someone else. Because if somebody dies, it's like, well, I can't change that. Do you know what I mean? Like, that's done. Boom. But when you break up with someone, you're still there. You could reach out to them. You can spy on them on social media, whatever you want. I think you can argue that both ways. Like, death is so absolute. I think it can affect people massively. But it's still that you are going to have to go through a change, and you are going to have to balance out, and you are going to have to change everything because you're so used to that person being there. No one can just... Look, some people can. It's amazing. There's an amazing episode of Seinfeld, I don't know whether you've seen it, where a girl breaks up with Jerry Seinfeld in the coffee house. And still the restaurant, I should say. And he just goes, okay, it's brilliant. Because I'll meet someone else, and you watch it, and you're like, if only that's how life worked. I think some people, I'm sure, there is always exception to the rule. But most of the time, you then have to get back to normality. And normality for you at that point is with the other person. So now you've got to refigure it out. That's why it's hard. So of course you're going to be a bit down. QPR Forever in the super chat says, I care for my mum. She has Alzheimer's. It's tough, but I will always care and love her. Like, can you imagine that? Can you imagine your... well, I can actually. That ties into my passion for mental health, which one day I'll do a video about. But, having someone like your mum that bore you into this world, brought you up, cared for you, looked after you for all those years. And then it always switches anyway, because as they get older and you enter your peak years, you're going to be in a better stage to take care of them than vice versa. But to see them have something like that, again, the effort that goes into taking care of them is amazing to begin with. But the mental anguish that you have to go through to accept it. And acceptance is the big thing with all of this. Again, we talked about grieving, we talked about relationships. How many times have you heard that? You got to accept it. You got to accept it. And same with when you have a problem, you've got to accept you've got a problem. Because once you get to that point, you can then start dealing with it. 116 Gaming, again, member of the channel. You can join down there if you want. Another thing that's kind of overlooked is cyberbullying. Like, yes, I see the rise and why it's funny to troll, but there are said people who take trolls. Well, that's the thing. It's trolling. Trolling is. For example, we've done videos on this channel where, for example, EA announced whichever Battlefield game it was, and it had women in it. And I did a stupid video winding these people up. But that's winding people. I was insulting people who were being idiots about something else. But when you actually reach out deliberately to try and, especially, this is the thing. Sometimes things happen in the world, and I'm like, we'll call them person X. And I'm like, person X has done something wrong, and person X is an idiot, and person X probably needs to go and see someone themselves. But usually the response to all that is that person X gets absolutely destroyed on the internet. Absolutely ruined. Absolutely ruined. And you're like, I get it, because people are reacting, and we now have this platform to react. But it's not going to help anybody. and we're going to ruin that person's mental health. I don't think anybody deserves to have their mental health ruined. Nobody. Punishments and consequences should go down, but I sometimes get a bit worried about the mob mentality that social media can bring about, even when we are just voicing our opinion about someone who has done something wrong. Maybe that's more personal to me, but I think, again, it's just about having awareness. I think if we had more awareness about that, we wouldn't do it, because we should always try and protect everybody's mental health, even when they've screwed up, because then I think it becomes more of a natural thing. Ben Greenwood in the super chat says, I'm not going to promote my Twitter DM here, but it's easy being the rock for everyone else, wrestling pun, but if anyone needs someone to talk to, I'm here. There you go, Ben. You can promote your Twitter if you want, man. I don't care about stuff like that. It's fine. If people want to follow you, they will. If they don't, they won't. It's just, it's just one of those things. And I think that, this ties into sort of, being homosexual or being transgender and all those things too. Because if you think you can't come out with that kind of stuff without somebody judging you for it or dragging you down, of course you're going to keep it hidden away, because you're terrified about what's going to happen to you. You should just be able to live your life. You should just be able to be happy. As long as the key isn't what we look like or who we are or how we choose to dress or how we choose to live. It should be how we treat each other. I know I sound like Jerry Springer here. I don't care. You can call me an idiot. Just leave, actually. It's the best thing to do. Miller's an idiot. Close it down. But, that's the thing that should really matter. And I get there's prejudices in the world. I mean, there shouldn't be, but I get that there is. But it doesn't mean that we shouldn't be aware of them and try and work on them and try and fix them, because that all ties in. That all ties in too. Like the thought of, I've always get asked. It's like if my kid, I have any kids to the record, but if my kid was came out, Dad, I'm gay. I'd be like, all right, go get a lovely man, woman, whatever you happen to be gender wise. And people go, oh, you don't know that's true, Miller. I do. I definitely do. Because, again, that's not me saying that we should go shrug our shoulders. I'm saying I can't believe there are still people that would care about that, to be honest. It's not like somebody woke up one day and went, I'm going to be gay. It's like, woohoo. And that's why, it even comes down to nationalism's the wrong word, but patriotism the wrong word as well. Where you're born is a better thing too. Like you get some people, I don't like you because you're Mexican, or I don't like you because you're British, or I don't like you because you're Canadian, I don't like you because you're Puerto Rican. But they didn't choose to be born there, They were just born there. And really, it's just a bit of land. And we went around and went, that's Canada, that's Mexico, that's America, that's Britain. And yet we put all the emphasis and all the, all these emotions on it. And you're like, what are we doing? What are we doing? We're just humans. We're just humans. Like, everyone's got their own idea about how we got here. Again, I'm a religious guy, got a massive spiritual side, so I have my own beliefs. But we all got here, one way or the other. And now we're going to rip each other down because you come from a different place from me. It's just nuts. We've all got the same organs and skin and stuff like that. But again, all of this ties into the mental health stuff too, because think of all these little things that are going on all the time. And we talk about Twitter and social media. I can't believe some of the things we get mad about sometimes. And you can get mad about whatever you want. You earned that right. You have that right. But sometimes I'm like, what are we don't get mad about this. This is a waste of our time. I wish I had an example now, but I don't wish. But I can't think of anybody else now. But Undead FBQ in the super chat just stole my words. Everyone's fighting their own battles. Same hell, just different devils. Should always be kind, and your kindness could be the only kindness they get. I was literally going to say, everyone has got their own battle going on in their head. It could be OCD, it could be depression, it could be anxiety, it could be you're scared about work, it could be your TV broke and you're really upset about it. You don't know how it's going to fix it. It could be you sold something on eBay and someone screwed you out of the money. How are you going to fix it? It could be a bad tax bill. And, that one thing can spiral if then something piles on top of it. And so you just want to be able to go to someone, look, man, can you help me out, please? And if someone turns around and goes, nope, that's it. We're now back at square one. Right. If you got any questions in the chat, we will do them just to. I don't want to like rant for an hour. I don't want anything like that. I just, again, loads of people very kindly have said, Miller, are you going to bring back the mental health stuff? And I was like, yeah, you know what? I probably should. And I thought I would do it today. I thought I would try a live stream because, I don't know, I think it's just better when you have interaction with people when you're talking about it. And also, we've done a lot. We have done a lot of mental health stuff on the channel. And I don't want to start going over similar themes and people being like, Millie, you're just repeating yourself. And look, I do read a lot of self-help books and a lot of books like this. I'm fascinated. I'm fascinated by the brain. I'm fascinated by psyche. I'm fascinated by people. I'm fascinated by society and how we all operate and how we work and how some people can be Brad Pitt and other people can just be, John who goes to work every day. I think that's incredible. I think what a disparity in the human race. Neither are bad, neither are good. That's just the realistic situation. But everyone has a different path, and yet deep down, everybody's experienced the same stuff. It's like the toilet analogy, right? Everybody sits down and gets rid of their waste. And some people may use nicer toilet paper, but really it's the same thing. Garrick Rowan in the Super Chat says, hand on heart. That's what we do here, if you knew. Hand on heart when you enter in the Super Chat. Thanks for the content. You're very welcome, Garrick. Thanks for joining me. Like, if you didn't watch it, I wouldn't do it. It would be pointless. And Ivan in the Super Chat says, in my honest opinion, no topic more important than this. I'd agree. Because you tie it into anything that I do. My wrestling, my videos, my band, this. Can't do it unless you are feeling good. But wouldn't it be good if you could do it when you weren't feeling good because you weren't embarrassed and you weren't ashamed? And that's something I need to work on. Like I say, when my back's starting to hurt. When I feel myself crying in a public place, I still try and stop myself. So I'm a hypocrite in that sense, something I do need to work on. But clearly it's, that's just, again, it's still there. That old permutation is still there. I'm a man, you don't cry. Even though if anyone cries around me, I'm like, bro, man, spill it. Get it out there. It's really important. Because if you hold it back too, it's like you're fighting. You don't want that internal fight. My man, Nick C., always a good supporter, said, I used to think I had no friends, in Super Chat as well, sorry. Truth is, I did, but I was shy and never kept in touch. Something I've dealt with for years, but things are okay now. Well, that's awesome. That is awesome. And well, yeah, we all do that. I think we can all be a bit internal and introspective sometimes and not realize. That's what I mean. When someone says something to me on the internet and it really gets me, I always go straight away like a right asshole. Well, what does that mean? Why did I act like that? Because it's on me. Nobody can make me feel anything. And I don't mean me, I mean us in general. No one can make you feel anything because you choose how to take it. It's all based on your past experiences. But even if someone looks you dead in the eye and goes, I hate you, you can choose to completely ignore that if you want, depending on your chemical makeup and who you are, blah, 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 blah. But nobody can make you feel anything. Doesn't mean that people should be able to say whatever they want to you. But that's like a fascinating thing too. There are some people out there that are so confident and so strong, you can say something to them, they're like, okay, meh, and they get on with their day. And it's like a superpower. It's like a superpower, that is. But I always think, why did it make me feel like that? What is it about me as a person, as a human being, that someone has called me whatever, or someone accused me of whatever, and it really, really hurt me? Sometimes it's because they're right. Now, they've delivered it in the wrong way, and they delivered it in a way that's really horrible, but the crutch of the message is true. Like, if you go back and watch my wrestling debut at No Regrets, I had a few people really laying into my clotheslines, and I knew straight away the reason I don't like it is because I knew my clotheslines were crap, and they were. I didn't want to hurt anyone. I was terrified. That Royal Rumble, Rumble you want to call it, had like the best independent talent in the world in it. I was like, I don't want to hurt these people. So I just touched them. And it did. They looked crap. But when someone said that to me, that's why it got to me. Because deep down, I knew that was true. And that was something that I had to work through. Just meant next time I had a match that was filmed, I whammed people with clotheslines so hard, and now we find a balance. 116 Gaming says, this is a great message to send. Seeing YouTubers like yourself humbling with personal experience is just making it easier for viewers to become okay with being different, and that is not a bad thing. Well, that's very, very kind, 116. I appreciate it. Again, maybe when I started doing it, it's maybe one of the issues was that. Maybe you think, maybe I have to keep myself on a pedestal. Maybe I have to make myself look. I'm not saying that, anything like that, but maybe that was tying it down. But that's not the world we live in 2019. Social media has broken those barriers. Like The Rock can tweet you tomorrow. Rock's one of the biggest movie stars on the planet. That wouldn't have happened 10, 15 years ago. I think it's much more important now to try and engage with your audience and try and be as open and honest as possible. Because it's true, right? And if it's true, why would we not want to talk about it? And we have this ridiculous thing known as YouTube. What even is it? It's weird. Why am I sat in my house right now? Why are you watching it? I'm joking. But yeah, like we did an NF reaction the other day, and he's all about mental health. That guy struggles, and he's on top of the world in terms of what he wanted to do. And we could talk about, I always forget his name, the Linkin Park singer, Chester Bennington, I think his name was. On the outset, you would have thought he had everything in his hands. He had a wife, he had kids, he had fame. Probably, Linkin Park is one of the biggest bands in the world. You can say Linkin Park to anyone and they'll know who it is. And he couldn't get past the stuff in his head. And I think it breaks my heart. And the only thing worse than that, well, no, it's not worse. That's the worst. But, down the chain from that is people on the internet go, well, he was rich and he lived this dream. Yeah, but that doesn't make it better. That makes it worse. He had managed to put himself in a position that he'd worked hard to get and ensured that his talent backed up. And yet he still wasn't able to balance himself out. It's not, there's no good or bad. But if someone says, oh, they'd lost their job, they'd broken up, you go, okay, they're in a bad place. Still awful. But when someone seemingly has everything and they can't get out of their own heads, it's all bad. I just think it's heartbreaking all around. And clearly some people still don't get that. And some people never will. Again, it's the football player argument. Well, they earn so much money. What have they got to moan about? Well, not money. If they're moaning about money, you can call them an asshole. If a football player that earns £100,000 a week go, I'm broke, you can go, you flipping idiot. But if they're saying, I'm struggling, like Danny Rose, the Tottenham defender, came out and said that, well, yeah, but he's not moaning about money. He's saying he's struggling after an injury, after this, after that. It's crazy. Life is absolutely nuts when you think about it. We're on a rock and we're flying through the sky and we don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. We don't know what's going to happen in an hour. Don't know what's going to happen in a week. No wonder we're all terrified. And it's just. I don't want to start going into blessings and things like that, but I'll use it. It's just a blessing to be able to wake up each day and have this whole thing in front of us. Really, you're not going to think like that all the time, but when you read stories in the news and you see what happens to some people, it is a bit like, well, thank flib that wasn't me, right? That's a terrible way to look at it, but sometimes we do. Sometimes by reading newspapers or watching the news are the worst thing ever. Turn that off. Shout out to Jace Joker, good name in the super chat. Just threw some money in there. Well, that's very nice, especially on a stream like this. That's a little bit humbling and awkward in many ways. I certainly didn't do this to try and. I just thought it'd be nice to interact with people. We've done so many where we haven't interacted. I was like, let's interact and let's do it. And some people, talking about how you can take stimulants and whatnot will ruin your perception of happiness. I mean, what even is happiness, right? That's something I struggle with. I have a very strong work ethic, and I have big ambitions. But 9 times out of 10, you'll achieve whatever it is you're aiming for, and straight away, literally hours later, you're like, well, what's next? And then you do that, and you do that, and you do that, and all of a sudden 10 years have passed, and oh my gosh, where did that go? Not the worst thing in the world, because you're going to have memories and you're going to have experiences, but it really is. Like every book I've ever read or watched documentary about this subject always says live in the now, live in the moment. Everyone, and you will have heard that too, because it's an overdone expression. But that's why. Even the start of this video that we did, how long have we been going? The start of this video that we did, come on computer, 41 minutes ago, is now the past. It doesn't exist anymore. Maybe you've been here since then. Maybe you joined in between. It's irrelevant. It's something we've done. And it's something that we're never going to do again. That's terrifying. It's also why I don't understand photography. Not something to get into. There's videos in the vlog series where I talk about that as well. See, we don't hold anything back when it comes to these vlogs. But, and don't be worried about what your worry is. Don't be worried about what your worry is. But you're allowed to be worried. Again, if you're worried about carpets, be worried about carpets. Just try and figure out what it is carpets you don't like. I hate that. Well, it's a stupid thing to be worried about. Yes, which probably means it's a big deal. And we should tiptoe around it. Okay, we'll do a couple more minutes. If you want to ask any questions or you want to throw any statements out there, we'll wrap up about 1:45. I think 45 minutes of me rambling and raving, although we did have some struggles at the past. In the past, at the start of the video. I don't know what happened. I don't know what happened to that. But yeah, a lot of this was inspired by me listening to the NF album yesterday. He was a big inspiration. I thought it was really good. And again, it is genuinely one of the best hip hop albums I've ever heard. Maybe a bit of hyperbole in the title, and people came at me, you stupid idiots. Like, they don't agree. Who cares? Really, life's gonna go on. We're gonna go out there. Rain is coming down right now. Sunshine stopped. But yeah, try and look to the future if you can, but more importantly, try and ground yourself in the present, because that's all we have. This is all that exists, this moment right now, and it ticks away, tick, 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 every second. Chronically Mags, good name, in the super chat. I'm going blind, have a feeding tube, nerve damage in my arms and legs, and had to learn to walk in February because of a rare disease, and it's hard, to be honest. How could it not be? Now, I would never, ever, ever, ever pretend I can understand what you're going through. I can't. My sympathy is with you, but empathy and sympathy are very, very different things. I can't even imagine. But the fact that you're even able to come on here and say that, I think is pretty incredible. The fact you had to learn. Look at it that way. You taught yourself to walk again. I'm not sure how old you are, but I guess you're an adult. And I think that kind of sums it up. We don't know what's going to happen. I send you nothing but good vibes. Nothing but good vibes. And I just hope that, I just hope that, going forward, things can get better. And, I said a lot. That's what I say when I'm trying to segue sentences and I'm a bit overwhelmed, to be honest. But it's, I think talking about it is the first step. I really, really do. If we talk about it, we can try and get to a better place. Shout out to Vicey and Yogi Beach TV who joined the YouTube channel. I haven't slammed we always put the Q&A in there. We do a behind the scenes Q&A which is linked to my Patreon. I'll make sure I link that when I'm done. So any members, check out the community feed when we're done here, and you can tune into the Q&A, and I'll make sure I get that. I'll make sure I get that up. So someone says they didn't see a Q&A thread on Patreon this week. No, it's there. It went out on Monday. Definitely there. I guess where I read the questions from, so it definitely went out. And that's very nice. Vicey and Yogi Beach TV said, Simon, you're a legend. That's very kind. You're a legend as well, because you support me, and I appreciate it. Right, we'll wrap that up. Again, I think we're going to start doing the Y series, the Y with Simon Miller. Y series very different every Friday. I think, Thursday or Friday. I think both are good. I think it's a good way to end the week. Again, you can subscribe to this on YouTube. Don't really some audio like iTunes and stuff. You don't really have to if you just heard about it, but you certainly can. And in the meantime, please do reach out and talk to somebody. Give the Samaritans are amazing. They are an amazing, amazing group. They will talk to you forever if you need it, and they don't give you any advice. They just lend an ear, and they ask you very poignant questions that may just be able to... And it doesn't have to be... Obviously, if you do feel suicidal, absolutely do it. But you don't have to be to that place. It can just be you're struggling with the day. You can ring them up and go, I'm struggling. And they'll talk to you for a bit. And you know that you can talk to them because they won't judge you, because they have no idea who you are. You can make up a name. You can call yourself Bogsy Begonham. No, okay, Bogsy Begonham. You just talk to them as Bogsy. Sometimes I go, Bogsy. You go, excuse me? Oh, yeah, that's me. But, that's important. Right. In the meantime, it's Friday. Have lovely weekends. I hope you've all got amazing things planned. Cheap plug, if you're around London on Sunday, you want to come down to the Bedford in Balham, I'm going to be wrestling there. Shoulder's a bit dodgy, but it's nothing serious. Let's hope. But yeah, I'll be down there if you want to see it. In the meantime, if you're on the YouTube channel right now and you haven't liked, shared, subscribed, that's what we do here. I'm not going to pimp anything else because that's not what this podcast was about. Well, none of my podcasts are about this, but I like to be respectful, and I don't think that would be respectful. But thank you for joining me on this Friday afternoon, and I will talk to you all again very, very soon.